Thanks a lot for the opportunity to present already some of the work which has already been shown from Iliad. But today, what I wanted to talk about was how all of this leads to um, policy impact and roadmap towards multi-sectoral governance and policy making, how digital twins could contribute into this. So as already noted, my name is Garabet Kazanjan. I'm an assistant professor at the American University of Armenia. And among other things, within the Iliad project, I'm facilitating the policy impact of the project. It was very fortunate that Fernando presented right before me because he already made it a lot easier to understand what I'm going to talk about today in action. What I want to do now is take his presentation and move forward to elaborate how all of this could be used by policymakers and public authorities. So I'm sure you've already heard a lot about Iliad and digital twins, but just for clarity's sake, I'll be very brief in explaining what the whole thing entails. Iliad technically provides virtual representations of the ocean, capable of running complex predictive management scenarios. And already there was a question from Anis just now about what if scenarios. I'm going to elaborate on that a lot more in my presentation. So the system integrates cross-disciplinary sensors, models, digital infrastructures, and it's all built on a federated system of systems where using similar standards, APIs, and best practices, a lot of data or models could talk to each other and integrate into building new services. Iliad also wants to partner with a number of different projects and communities towards implementation of interoperable systems, services, and assets. So in a nutshell, we want to create a number of interoperable digital twins by connecting to already existing ocean data infrastructures, but then also enhancing these infrastructures by additional observation data, whether that comes from low-cost sensors, citizen science, etc. This was already discussed again in a few talks ago. And then all of these services will be hosted on a marketplace where a lot of innovative methods and open frameworks will be developed and showcased and also commercialized. But then this marketplace will also enable model evaluations, comparisons of different applications, et cetera, et cetera. And then we want to build a community, a social community around all of this, coming from a very diverse set of end users to help test, develop further innovative ideas, and progress policy even further. For that, we're also creating a small facility hub. We are calling it the Business Technology and Innovation Facility, where a lot of startups or university early career researchers could, if they have specific ideas within these realms, could integrate into this project and develop their ideas further, getting a lot of help from our end. I'll talk a bit about that more in a second. So this is how the marketplace will look like, and it's going to go public very soon. It's kind of in an internal beta testing at this point, where a lot of the services are going to be hosted. It's some sort of a catalog where you have different tags and different search capabilities with regards to sectors or geographic areas, etc. And then if you search what you're looking for, all the relevant hits will come up where you can download the data if it's freely available, or in a commercial sense, you can also buy some of the services. On top of the marketplace, we also have a number of pilot case studies. Fernando already showcased one, but this isn't only closed from an Iliad perspective. Like I said, if you have already some sort of a prototype or an idea you want to test, you can actually contact us to go into this program here that you see called Twin Labs on the bottom right corner, where it's some sort of a beta testing. You can have access to our platform and then get a lot of feedback. Once the product is deemed already mature enough, then it could eventually be hosted also on the marketplace. So to start populating the marketplace, and as you've already seen throughout the last few days, there's a number of different Iliad pilots which are dealing from a very different number of sectors, coming from renewable energy to fisheries and aquaculture, marine traffic and harbor safety. So Valentine also represented something about ballast water in the morning, pollution, met-ocean data, biodiversity, insurance, and other maritime activities. So altogether, all of these very rich, very innovative solutions, how do they contribute to policy advancement, is the question that I want to deal with today. So obviously our objective is to support the planning and decision-making of blue growth to meet specific European environmental and socioeconomic objectives, but not only European, obviously there's also regional and international targets like the UN Decade of the Ocean and such. And we want to work very closely with end user groups and stakeholders, specifically policy stakeholders, to make sure they can take full advantage of these solutions and tools. So in one way where Iliad could contribute to this is help making environmental data widely available and accessible via bringing in data from multiple sources, whether these are marine observatories, national libraries or repositories, Earth observation systems, etc., and making everything function in an interoperable way, following common standards and fair principles for increased accessibility. On top of the available information and data sets, we are also looking into integrating additional new sources of data via deployment of low-cost sensors, IoT devices, citizen-generated data, and such, with the addition of appropriate tools for their validation and analysis and integration into the models. Thirdly, we also want to help compliance reporting and implementation of legislation, and this could be used by public authorities, regional administrators, policymakers, and so on, where they could actually see in near real time what is happening and follow up the situation in the sea. But also businesses could access some of the same applications as the policymakers, and this could help bridge the gap, so to speak, where businesses are reporting in the same toolkits as public authorities, and everybody has access to the same information and infrastructure. In the future, we are also discussing integration of third-party solutions. A couple of weeks ago, we had during the GFCM Fish Forum, we organized a workshop with FAO's Calypso team, where we were also discussing how their project of reporting fisheries data for national authorities could be somehow complemented by Iliad solutions. Fourthly, we obviously, and this is something Fernando showed very well, is visualizing complex environmental data for ease of understanding, ecosystem, and domain interconnectedness, where a lot of very complex algorithms and models could be displayed in a very nice, easy to understand visual toolkits, aiding policymakers to make sense of the situation and what needs to be done. And then these domain interconnectedness and a kind of a holistic vision would help highlight policy gaps and potential conflicts among different international or EU and national legislation, including between EU member states and neighboring countries. For instance, when we're talking about the Mediterranean, where we have both parties, EU member states and non-EU neighboring members. But all this said, I think what digital twins really come to shine are the next two examples. The first one, which Anis already highlighted briefly before my presentation, is the what-if scenarios. So digital twins could help create or analyze what-if scenarios to support decision-making under uncertain conditions. And this could entail, for instance, forecasting future impacts of climate change on different sectors, so whether that's fish stocks, biodiversity, water quality, etc. We could also forecast adverse events like adverse weather events or oil spills. That was already shown. We could forecast potential impacts of new legislation. If we implement this particular law, what would be the impact of all of that on, for instance, biodiversity or fish stocks? And lastly, we could look into, for instance, marine protected areas and how all of that would reflect if this area is protected on different sectors, as mentioned. Secondly, now we need to kind of move towards this direction is moving from one pressure point, one fish stock assessment or one potential pollution assessment to more holistic ecosystem approach. And that cannot be done realistically if we're not looking into cross-sectoral, multi-layered governance. And in this sense, digital twins help with analyzing the impact of one sector over other sectors. And this is also needed in terms of governance transitioning from a more siloed approach of looking into each sector separately, whether that's fisheries or tourism or maritime activities, etc., and looking into ocean governance in its totality with regards to how all of these sectors interplay. So digital twins could help analyze the impact of potential upcoming changes and forecasts on multiple sectors. And also, if we want to go one level further, we can also look into not just environmental, but also economic and social perspectives. So I'm going to showcase a few case studies here. One of them, the first one is the Norway aquaculture pilot studies that we have within our project. The aquaculture industry is about a bit less than 10 billion euro industry in Norway alone. However, with climate change impacts, they're facing increased risks and more complex hazards with regards to both disease control and other impacts. So there is a very strong need, not just from the fish farmers, but also the insurance companies on how to estimate the risks so they could sell their insurance packages. So what this pilot has achieved, and this has been a collaboration between multiple different companies and institutions, is to build better predictive analytics to ensure compliance, sustainability, and a profitable future for the industry, both fish farmers and also the insurers. So on the right-hand, top right-hand corner, you see, for instance, the forecasting of transmission of diseases, of lice from one aquaculture farm towards other aquaculture farms within the fjords in Norway. In the bottom figure, you could see the temperature variations and forecasts that are coming, so how all of this is going to impact different fisheries and fish farms. And also all of this is culminated in very easy to read dashboards where both farmers and decision makers could look into the data, could check the compliance, and could also look into forecasts. And based on these forecasts, insurance companies could identify future risk scenarios and adapt their tailored insurance packages to each of the farmers accordingly, analyzing each scenario and each forecasted possibility within their portfolios. Other examples that I could give was actually something done in Al Hoceima in Morocco last year during the summer school that we organized there, where the participants looked into the impacts of shellfish farming on the marine protected area. Other potential examples could also be, for instance, the impact of ship routing on marine traffic and marine traffic on fish stocks or marine biodiversity, the impact of offshore renewable energy projects on other sectors, again, biodiversity, fishing, tourism, etc. So all of these are just, we're scraping the surface of the barrel here, but they're all potential ideas of how digital twins could help policymakers from moving from more boxed, siloed approach into looking at more holistic governance model in a more multi-sectoral way, where they also bring in future risk cases into their analyses and thereby come up with better decisions which mitigate these potential future occurrences. So what steps is the Iliad project taking to ensure greater policy impact? We're working on a number of different policy toolkits, which are more theme related. So for instance, with fisheries, we're going to develop one policy toolkit. With renewable energy, we're going to develop another, where we reach out to policymakers and in a co-design aspect, develop specific guidelines of how they could use these solutions for policy setting or for policy compliance. Apart from that, we've also been working on developing policy briefs, broadcasts, and newsletters to update every stakeholder who's interested in these types of projects with regards to the development of our solutions and where we are, how the prototypes are working, etc., if they want to test them out. And we're very interested in end users testing our services, because the feedback will only improve the products themselves. We've also organized a big number of workshops and webinars, both for internal capacity development, but also for external parties. Everything is open and available online. Whoever wants to learn more about these technologies and how they could be used in a number of different ways, they could follow these webinars. And we're very actively contributing to European policy dialogue and action agendas. For instance, I'm currently now in Brussels participating in the Mission Ocean Forum, and digital twins are a very hot topic with regards to governance. Further on, we've also organized a number of trainings and workshops. Again, most of these workshops are available online if you want to have access to previous events. We organized a summer school in Morocco last year, and we will organize another summer school this year. If you're interested in that, these are mainly aimed at graduate students, PhD students, and early career scientists. If you have students of your own who might be interested of participating, please register and keep your eyes open for more details to come. Other than that, we've already organized a number of hackathons. We organized one during the summer school, as mentioned last year. We participated in the Cassini hackathons, and there are 2-3 more coming this year. The next one will be on business development and innovation of these tools, but there will be some technical ones also to come, and probably a policy one to come later this year. Lastly, we are also working on developing or building a policy impact facility page, where a lot of the policy briefs and broadcasts we've been producing could end up there. So policymakers could simply go to that page and understand how all of this and all of the different solutions could help them in their everyday work. We've already mapped the stakeholders in each sector that we've identified and we want to reach out, or we've been reaching out to. But also in this mapping, we're looking into how different Iliad pilots and projects and solutions could touch upon different policies, whether that's European policies, UN, or international policies, in a very nice visual form, to kind of assess the impact of what this type of work could have on policy advancement in a national, regional, and international level. This page is still under development, but it should come online soon in the coming months. One more thing, I talked already about trainings and workshops. Part of that, or all of that, will eventually end up in something called the Iliad Academy. This is very close to being deployed, where a lot of the training material we've been working on will end up being curated into online courses and MOOCs, and will end up on the Academy page. This is an educational and capacity development hub for the project, but also beyond. And it will host content related to ocean digitization, twinning, marine sustainability, blue economies. So if you're also educators or work within universities or develop any type of online course content, we would be very happy to host it there for greater exposure. Technically, the Iliad Academy will host anything related to marine sustainability and digitization. So this is my last slide. I would just like to raise your attention to a couple of recent events we had organized. We've sent out policy briefs to targeted stakeholders of how digital twins could help policymakers. We organized a workshop on Iliad applications as tools for policymakers last November. This is an online workshop which is available on YouTube. You could access it easily. This was specifically the case of fisheries, but similar ones will come for other sectors. As I mentioned before, we organized a workshop at the GFCM Fish Forum in collaboration with UNEP-MAPS PARAC and also the FAO Calypso team. There we had a lot of very interesting discussions and also testimonials and input from fishermen that are using some of these tools, how it's helped them. And there were very interesting discussions on building trust between fishing communities, policymakers, how the tech industry could kind of bridge the gap. There will be a number of different policy briefs coming as a result of this, so stay tuned. And our idea or roadmap in the next months is to select different teams and highlight these pilots within these teams to the general audience, specifically from a policy perspective. And like I mentioned, all of that will eventually end up on the Policy Impact Hub page. So that was it in a very quick and summarized way, how such a big project and innovative tools could help with policy making. I'm sure there might be a lot more ideas coming up in the coming months, but if you're interested in reaching out or collaborating in different ways, organizing joint workshops, etc., or interested in simply some of the training material, feel free to reach out. These are my contacts. And I would be very happy to answer any questions that you might have now. Thank you.